Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Will, and I'm not joined by my co-host over here, the Grease. That's right. The Grease is on the seven seas. He is on a cruise ship this evening. He's not joining me here. So I thought I would do something a little special, a little different, something you haven't seen before. We are doing the inaugural Whiskey Advice live right here on the internet. As far as I know, this is the only live call-in whiskey advice show on YouTube. And as I said, just as far as I've checked, if you are looking at the ticker on YouTube while we're live, go ahead and call that number. It's 270-612-2275. That is 270-612-CASK, C-A-S-K. It'll ask you your name and a little bit of the advice you want. Is it, I want you to think of this as part Loveline, part Dave Ramsey, and part Click and Clack, the Car Talk Radio. So go ahead and give us a call, and I'll take your calls here live. That is 629-2, that's the wrong number. Sorry, it is 270-612-2275. So while you are getting your phone calls in, I need you to go ahead and do that. I'm going to play a little clip from our friend who is on the seven seas. But once again, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up. We'd like to see more of you more often. But here is a clip from our friend the Grease that he sent me today because he wanted you all to know he's thinking about you. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this.
What's up, y'all out there? I just wanted to show y'all this. That's a Disney cruise ship. That's where the rich people are. I am not. I'm just above the lifeboats, though. That was strategic because let me go ahead and tell you where I'm not going. I'm not going to my muster station, okay? I'm literally going right there. I'm not going down 3 flights of stairs and a half mile that way. I'm going right there. Can I get an amen? Rich people. Dadgummit.
So it does beg the question, what kind of a cruise ship is the Grease on? He showed us the fancy cruise ship from across the lagoon, across the harbor, but he's not on that one. But it is appropriate that the Grease is right above the lifeboat because he may get thrown off the balcony by his wife if he keeps filming videos like that to send to you all while he's on vacation. But I did want to go ahead and say one more time, please call in at 270-612-2275 or 270-612-CASK. Go ahead and give me a call, and I want to take your advice as we are here live. I see there are many of you on here, so I would like you to go ahead and call. Do you have questions about what you should buy, if you should get different proofs for the summer, how to hide your bourbon collection from your significant other, anything like that? Go ahead and call in at 270-612-2275. And I've got another clip from the Grease I'll be playing here in a moment, which adds to the intrigue. But yes, the Grease did get his passport in time. There was a concern, if you watched a few weeks ago, whether or not he would get it. And it did come in time, but he did take my advice and call the cruise line, and they said that they would allow him to use his passport as though he were an infant. I'm sorry, not passport, his birth certificate, as though he were an infant on the high seas, because, you know, babies a lot of times don't have passports yet, but they still get taken on cruise ships. Grease was allowed to do that because they were just going to Mexico. But yeah, so Frank C., that answers your question. Hopefully he did get his passport with about a day and a half to spare before they left for their vacation. Here is a second video while you're getting your phone calls in. Once again, this is not a joke. You can call 270-612-2275. And I'm going to go ahead. Look, oh, we've got a caller already calling in. While that call is being screened, I'm going to go ahead and play this second video from the Grease to show why I think he may be in trouble if he keeps sending videos.
Hey, babe, you ready to drink some daiquiris and some rum floaters?
I already have. I'm on my second. Third.
There you go. So looks like they're going to have a good time there. But everyone go ahead and call 270-612-2275. I've got a caller that's being screened currently. Oh, they it looks like they dropped. I could call them back, though. That's unfortunate. Go ahead and call back. But I do want to take this opportunity to tell you that the Whiskey Advice Live is brought to you by Oak and Thieves Barrel Company. I'll be drinking cigarette blend tonight because it's a salty kind of an evening. So I poured this up. This is a Nulu barrel pick. Straight bourbon whiskey, 114 proof, 4 years, 6 months. And it drinks like it is a good, solid 12 years old. If you want to pick one of these up, you can. Join Oak and Thieves Barrel Company at oakandthieves.com. All right, folks, I'm going to be taking your calls as soon as you call. So once again, go ahead and call 270-612-2275. I will take any advice that you want given, but please go ahead and call that number right now. Kyle is asking, can we text this number or just call? You can text it. However, you can also just comment. So kind of takes the purpose out of that. The fun is when you call in, and I'm going to stay on until it happens. Okay, one is being screened right now. Looking forward to that. See you, J.W. Adams. Hello from Kentucky. Good to see you on here tonight. We're going to have a good time. And, Shauna is calling. Let's go ahead and take Shauna on line 2. Shauna, you are on Whiskey Advice Live. How's it going?
I'm really good, Will. I need some advice. Like, this is super serious. So I'm really glad I have this opportunity.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Go ahead and ask me the question.
Okay. So my boss last night was supposed to be bidding on a bottle of Pappy, but he had to stay home because his wife was ill. And he asked somebody else to bid on the bottle of Pappy's in his stead. You know, somebody he trusted.
A proxy, per se.
On this bottle.
Yes.
Right. Charitable purposes, business purposes, all the right reasons to buy this bottle of Pappy 23. But his proxy chickened out below $10,000. Do we tease him incessantly or honor him for saving some dough?
I'm going to need a little bit more information from you, Shauna. What was the charitable cause that this auction was raising money for?
Boys and Girls Club of Tennessee.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that teasing incessantly is called for in this because, one, it was a proxy, so they weren't bidding with their own money. And two, it was for a good cause. So even if the boss was like, whoa, that was a lot more than I thought I'd be spending, they would have ended up being able to say in return, hey, it was for a good cause. So yeah, I think the jeers are in order in this case.
Perfect. Thank you. That's what I was thinking too. I appreciate your sage advice.
Thank you so much for calling Whiskey Advice Live. I appreciate it, and good to hear from you, Shauna. Hope you'll keep listening.
Later, Gator.
All right, folks. Thank you, Shauna, for calling in. That was a very, very good question coming in to start the evening off. I'll be here all evening to get you through your work night, your day shift, whatever time you're listening to this. If you're catching it on the replay on the podcast feed, you'll be able to hear it then as well. So go ahead and give us a call at 270-612-2275 with any sort of question you may have whiskey related. Currently, I am drinking, like I said, the cigarette blend from Oak and Thieves. It is a Nulu straight bourbon whiskey, non-chill filtered, 114.2 proof, 4 years, 6 months. This happens to be bottle 131 from barrel B477. You should check them out at oakandthieves.com. So, folks, I had the privilege of hanging out with another Oak and Thieves member, Bob Little, over the weekend, and we went and checked out a new company here in the Nashville area. It's Redline Whiskey Company. And I had seen some of these popping up from time to time that I saw a few local stores putting up Redline. I hadn't really heard a lot about the brand, but Bob invited me to go along with him for a good meeting and enjoy it. We didn't have James or the Grease with us, so it was quite a better situation than it could have been. But one problem I needed to deal with was the problem that I see them putting out some things that were cask finished. And a lot of times you look at things that are coming out that are newer that are cask finished, and they end up being just trying to mask the flavor of subpar whiskey. They had a honey finish, they had a orange curacao finish, and some other things. So we went and we tried them, and it ended up being unbelievably good. Bob and I were so surprised at talking with our buddy there, Taylor, and just had a great time learning about Redline whiskey and the passion they have behind it. And I got a couple more callers calling in, and I'm going to get to them in just a moment. But I did want to say Redline is a company you should be looking out for, because their finishes, they leave them in there for 6 months to a year instead of just the real quick month or 2 months. And it really created a difference to me, because it started to soften out some of the flavors. It's not like they were just flavoring the whiskey with those used barrels, but they were actually adding to the bourbon, but letting the spirit shine through. So I was really impressed with that. And I think they're really good. And I'm going to be checking out more of the Redline brand as they start to grow. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I have a caller calling in, and I don't have the name on this caller, but I'm going to go to you now. And my screener didn't quite catch your name. Could you go ahead and say who I'm talking with this evening?
Is that me?
Yes.
Is that me?
It's you.
Hey, I got to add a little grease to the show.
Oh, Mom Agree. Oh, it says the call screener picked it up as This Mom Agrees, but it's actually This is Mom Agrees. So that checks out.
Here's Mama Grease.
It's an automated call screener.
Yeah,
So what can I say?
You know, I tuned in like, a few minutes late because I was trying on my wedding dress. And, my question is, how much bourbon do I need to drink or not drink to fit back in my wedding dress?
You drink as much bourbon as you want to, and you find a tailor to take in that wedding dress, just so it'll fit right. You know what I mean? That's the best way.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that. But you know what? You still owe me that on that Christmas gift, bud.
So Mama Grease thinks that I gave her poor advice for her son, the actual Grease, the real Grease, as he calls himself on the internet, because I said that she should get him Lusty Claw for Christmas, because she presented me with two options. And I thought it was actually solid advice. He loves it. He loves the bottle. And she thinks that I hoodwinked her. But I stand by that I gave you the best advice.
Man, I think you did the best you could, but when he opened it, he just wasn't really happy.
Well, that sounds like that's his personal problem,
when,
not the advice of me.
I love you, Will. Have fun tonight. I'll be watching.
Thank you so much, Mama Grease. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Thank you, Mama Grease. That was a surprise there. You can be on air as well at 270-612-00 612-2275. That's 270-612 CASK. Join us tonight on Whiskey Advice Live, brought to you by the podcast. I have a special caller on line 5 calling me right now. This is the Natalie. And Natalie, you are on the air.
Hey.
Welcome to Whiskey Advice Live.
All right. Happy to be here. So I have a summertime question.
Mm-hmm.
So all these shaved ice vans and stuff are popping up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I need some pairing advice about what bourbon to put with what shaved ice flavor.
Okay. So I love in the summertime shaved ice. I love the creamsicle kind of flavor. And I think what you could almost make is a shave ice old fashioned. Do something 90 proof. Take the vanilla and the orange and maybe throw some bitters on there of your own. And just see how that turns out. I think that'd be a good one. What flavors are you normally going for, though?
You know, I like wedding cake, and I like pina colada. I like tiger's blood.
I do like I like the pina colada, and I think you could almost get a cask, rum cask finished rye for a pina colada. Go for a little tropical flavor there. Yeah. So I think those are two really good options. You don't want to ruin the wedding cake flavor with whiskey, though. You just want to keep that pure.
Yeah.
Did I hear Jason in the background?
Yeah, he's being a troll back here.
Well, tell him he's not allowed to get on the air over your call. He's got to call himself. So.
Okay, I will.
Natalie, thank you so much for calling Whiskey Advice Live. I hope I could help you with your shaved ice dilemma this sweltering summer that we're in. You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, that was a fun one out from Utah, where they take the shaved ice actually from a mountaintop and bring it down and then put the flavoring on it. A little bit different than the way we do it here in the South. If anyone else wants to give us a call, go ahead at 270-612-2275. That's 270-612 CASK. Go ahead and join us. Looks like we've got a couple calls coming in right now, so I'm going to wait a moment and get there. But we've got a good comment here from Joe on YouTube that says Taylor does a fantastic job with his stuff, and they're getting better each batch. He is referring to Redline Whiskey Company, which I just referenced. Really did appreciate the time that Taylor took with me and Bob, explaining his whole process and the barrels that he selects, and that he selects the barrel flavoring and notes from the straight whiskey that he thinks is going to go best with the barrel finish that he takes. And then it is not like he just throws it in to a wet barrel and it picks up some added flavor. It really matures well. And it's like I said, it adds a little bit to the whiskey. It doesn't flavor the whiskey and take away from it. So that is just my take on that. But I'm really excited about what they're doing and look forward to more stuff. And I'll tell you about a single barrel rye that we got to try from them after this call. So stick around for that. But if you want to be on air, 270-612-2275. But we're going to Eric on line 6. Eric, you're on Whiskey Advice Live. What's your question?
Yeah, I was curious what you do when you want to make a whiskey magazine.
Okay.
And you want to put snack cake pairings in there.
Okay.
Like, do you consult another magazine and try to get in that magazine, or do you just create your own magazine?
Well, has the magazine ever seen the stuff you do and copied that prior to you wanting to be published in said publication?
Yes, it has.
Oh, okay. So they are fully aware of your gimmick, as they say in the biz.
Right, yeah. But I didn't know if I took that as a compliment or if that was like a full blown act of war.
Yeah.
Do I go into like renegade style and make my own publishment, or do I just try to like meet them in the middle somehow?
Well, so here's what I would look at it. The old saying is that imitation is the highest form of flattery. And I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think they just stole your idea, ripped you off completely, allegedly. And I would probably say, I would say start your own magazine, and I would call it Schmisky Schmadvocate. Because it's,
and I guess the last question is, does anybody really read magazines anymore?
I think I'm the only one, but I'm also the only one doing a live call-in show on YouTube. So
I can't do.
so yeah, so I think that I might be the only one doing that. And you know what they say about that?
It just caught me so. I gotta go.
Eric, I hope I gave you some good advice on Whiskey Advice Live, brought to you by the podcast. You have a good evening, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Sounds like Eric got a case of the giggles at the end. If you want to call in, you can at 270-612-2275 for Whiskey Advice Live, brought to you by the podcast. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/thepodcast. It's a fun community of like-minded individuals. You can do the town hall level, which I'm a big fan of myself. It's where you get to hang out with me and my co-host, The Grease, on virtual Zoom meetings. We all got accustomed to them during the pandemic, but how many of them included heavy whiskey drinking on weeknights? Actually, I take that back. I think that was most Zoom calls during the pandemic. So maybe we're not so unique after all. But if you want to try that out, go to patreon.com/thepodcast to join us in our fun escapades over there. Every once in a while, the Grease takes his shirt off, which is not something you should be proud of. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, ring the bell, do all the things the kids tell you to do right now on YouTube. But if you're listening on the podcast feed, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and review, because that would be real kind and we'd appreciate it. But we've got another call coming in. This is from Brian. Brian, I'm about to get to you, but if you want to be just like Brian, go to 270-612-2275. That is 270-612-CASK. And you can be on air as well. All right, we're going to Brian. And Brian, you're on the air. Welcome to Whiskey Advice Live. How can I help you?
Hey, so excited. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
First time, long time. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, of course. So as I'm getting out more and more this summer, where is it appropriate to bring a flask full of whiskey? And maybe where should I not?
Good call. The old wedding is always the appropriate place to carry a flask, especially if there is a bar there, but they're not going to have that top shelf pour you're looking for. I would say federal parks, probably a no-no, because I think that may be against the law, but I'm not a lawyer, nor would I pretend to be giving out legal advice on this show. But I think anywhere where you're going to responsibly drink from that flask and not get too greasy is probably fine by me. Hope that helps you, Brian.
Super helpful. Thanks so much.
All right, Brian, thanks for calling Whiskey Advice Live, and keep on listening, and thanks for being a first-time caller. It means the world to us, and we couldn't do it without you. Brian, by the way, is a town hall member. We get to hang out with him many times on the internet, virtually, of course. That would be weird if all of a sudden he showed up at our home once a week. and lives out of state. So we've got another caller. This is Andy. But Andy, before we get to you, go ahead and call 270-612-2275 to be on the air as well. We're going to Andy. Andy, you're on the air.
Hi, long-time watcher, first-time caller.
Mm-hmm.
Got
Go
a
ahead.
quick
What
question for
do you got?
More of a request.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of your voiceover and imitation. Your stylings.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just
You
wanna
know
hear,
about my side
JP.
hustle in the VO
wanna hear-
work.
I want to hear JP from Grandma's Boy give me some advice in his unique style.
Oh,
Is there any way
okay.
you can do that for me? That'd be
Yeah, but I'm
awesome.
going to need a little bit more of a prompt. I've got the voice down, but what kind of advice are you looking for from old
Okay.
JP?
So, asking for a friend, is there a way to avoid drinking too much and maybe passing out on a bathroom floor in a convention style event?
Yeah, I think I can handle that one. If I were you, I would probably stay out of Bob and James' room. How's that for advice? Stay out of Bob and James' room, and you may be able to avoid the bathroom floor.
Yeah, I'll tell him. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all you do for the whiskey community.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. I've got another call coming in. This is from Dr. I'm not reading that one. I'm just going to call him Dr. Phil. And I think I know who this actually is. And unfortunately, my call screener is artificial intelligence, so doesn't get the joke of Dr. Phil. All right, Dr. McCracken, what can I do for you?
Yes, I am new to the whiskey world, and I have been attending a lot of June weddings that are now rolling into July. And all the weddings I've been to have had horrible alcohol on site. And I would like to know the tricks of the trade to bringing in your own good whiskey bottles, because flasks aren't good enough.
You know what I would do? I would get some sort of Yeti flask, and I would make a pre-batched cocktail and get it ice cold, because as we're heading into these July months, it's going to be quite sweltering. But if you don't mind a little extra baggage, you could always go the Camelback route and just fill that up with a handle full of Jim Beam and dance your socks off, Phil. What do you think about that?
Oh, that sounds so good. And I just want to thank you for taking my call, and let's do this again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Phil. That was Dr. McCracken calling from Lord knows where. All right, so we have this is from an anonymous caller. This is going to be quite interesting because I don't know how to take this, but if you would like to call in yourself, 270-612-2275. Anonymous, you are on the air. What can I do for you?
Yes, I have a relationship question, Bob. Can I call you Bob?
Well, my name is not Bob, but you can call me Bob.
Oh, okay. Anyway, hello, Bob. What do you do when you have a spouse that has problems with your whiskey collection? I should elaborate. My wife has a problem with my collection, not because of how much I spend or what I have. It's she says my palate is crap. I think she says, and I need to buy better whiskey.
Okay. Well, what were the last 3 bottles of whiskey you purchased? Let's start there.
Well, I mean, I bought all the Blantons. So I think she should be happy with that alone.
Like all the letters? You bought all the letters of Blanton's?
All the letters, yes. All the letters, all the label colors, you name it. I have a rainbow of Blantons. I thought that would impress her, but it just hasn't.
And so is that basically the only thing you're purchasing is just a bucket full of Blanton's?
Pretty much lately.
Okay. Yeah. So do you, I'm guessing you're like in that lower proof range, right?
Yeah, it gets a little from the above 86 proof. I mean, it was pushing it, but
What does she drink?
I
What does
should be
she what does
happy.
she prefer to drink? That is there something you could find a happy medium here? You could maybe set the mood a little bit by drinking what she's pouring.
Yeah, she says definitely that I don't have enough turkey in the portfolio, especially the dusty kind. But
well, they do
just
make
not-
an
it's
they
not
make an
convenient.
80 proof wild turkey. So you could, start off
Oh.
with baby steps. You could get that 80 proof wild turkey and take it up from there.
I like it.
Yeah, I would start with that 80 proof turkey and see if she slaps you or not. Just see where it goes. See where the night takes you.
Fair enough.
All right,
Thank you so much,
anonymous
Bob.
flannel
I
fan.
will get right on that.
You have any plugs,
I think you
anonymous
saved my
flannel?
marriage. Thank you so much.
You have any plugs, anonymous flannel fan? Anyone that any place people should go look for maybe some flannel content?
I've been really digging those guys on the flannel panel.
Yeah,
they're really cool.
those guys
do
are
some stream
rad.
out on Wednesday evenings, and they're pretty good guys. So.
Yeah, the Wednesday evening radical dad show is what I call it, because they're all dads
Absolutely.
in flannel. It's quite great. Thank you so much for calling, anonymous flannel fan, and I hope that I could save some pain in your marriage if you don't burn out your palate with that 80 proof wild turkey. All right, folks, if you want to be on air, if you have questions or comments, or if you just don't like this show at all, you can go ahead and give me a call at 270-612-CASK, CASK. That's 270-612-2275. And yes, I did get that phone number just for tonight, so make it worth my while, folks. All right. Let's see what else is going on. So this is again from Joe. He says, I can state for certainty that a flask is appropriate at a 2-hour midday dance recital for your 6-year-old niece. 100% agree once you added the word niece, because when it was your 2-hour midday dance recital for your 6-year-old, I was like, come on, Joe, give your daughter some love. But then it's your niece, and it's like, it's the thought that counts, right? Go ahead and call us at 270-612-2275. We're talking about Oak and Thieves Barrel Company, community-based bourbon and whiskey club from the folks at BS and Bourbon and the podcast. They're bringing you delicious, delightful, wonderful single barrel picks at oakandthieves.com. Shipped straight to your door in 48 states. I think you'll really like it. I'm drinking on this Oak and Thieves cigarette blend. This is a new loose straight bourbon whiskey. It is 114.2 proof, and there are still some bottles of this available if you're interested in picking it up. It's got a very clever, unique sticker that looks like American Spirit cigarette box, but yet it says Oak and Thieves cigarette blend, and their partner Keg and Bottle out of California, who does all the shipping for them. It's quite great. And one funny fact about these stickers is that James Smith of BS and Bourbon and Oak and Thieves does all of the editing of these stickers on PowerPoint. Still not sure how he pulls that off, but he does that and does a great job at it in probably the most inefficient way humanly possible to edit a photo. Okay, we've got a call here. This is from Travis, and he says he's calling about relationship advice. Travis, you're on the air. Whiskey Advice Live.
Hi, Dr. Will. Thanks for taking.
I do need to clarify, I am not board certified by any stretch of the imagination. So when I say I'm a doctor, it is highly in jest. Go ahead, Travis. What can I do for you?
Yeah, so we have a dilemma with my wife. We got a single barrel pick of a 1792 bottled in bond this year that was really, really good. And the dilemma is I want to drink all of it, and my wife wants me to drink none of it and save it for her. So I'm looking for your advice on the best way for me to sneak it and have her not know about it.
Is there any sort of happy medium we could get where you both enjoy the whiskey, or is it an all or nothing kind of situation?
well, she enjoys it a lot and is trying to save it, and I enjoy it a lot and really want to drink it. So maybe I could take half and fill the rest of the bottle up with water to make up for it.
I don't know if the water would work, because if I know one thing about the ladies, they are proof hounds. They can sniff out proof being diluted like nobody can. So I don't know if I'd go the water route, Travis. But have you thought about maybe getting a regular 1792 bottle and bond non-store pick and doing an old switcheroo?
I'll try it.
If all else fails, they say happy wife, happy life. But I would say drink more bourbon. So that's up to you, buddy. Hope I could help. Thanks for calling Whiskey Advice Live. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. Will.
All right. That was Travis calling with some cautionary tales in whiskey. All right. We've got this auto screen did not work out. It just says, hi, Gal Beck. So I'm wondering if it's Ty Gallenbeck. We're going to go to hi, Gal Beck. You're on the air.
Man, that translation is like Grease at like 12 o'clock at a whiskey weekend.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had many years deciphering gibberish, so I'm quite up to the task. Welcome to Whiskey Advice Live. Hi, Gal Beck. You're on the air.
How you doing there, Will? So I am headed fishing tomorrow. I know I've noticed a lot of the podcast Instagram photos have been filled with fly fishing instead of bourbon lately. So I'm assuming you're packing something when you're out there on the river, and wondering what your go-to for fishing bourbon has been lately.
Well, because I wade in the river, I like to take a plastic bottle because I don't want any accidents where glass gets into the river where other waders could potentially have a foot accident of some sort, or maybe even the raccoons. I don't want them to hurt their little paws. They're so cute and so scary. But I would say I normally have in the old sling pack a little pint bottle in plastic form of Wild Turkey 101. It's available. It tastes great. And when you need it, you need it. And sometimes you get a little snake bite. You got to pour some on there and clean out the wound, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would hate to have one of those glass bottles blow up someone's OnlyFans account. So I think you're doing it right.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. Thank you so much. Hi, Gal Beck. Hope you have a fun time out there on the water, and make sure to stay hydrated so you can keep drinking whiskey. All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. We've got another Eric calling in. So let's go. Eric, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, I was just wondering, there's so many bottles of whiskey that are around $60. What is your absolute favorite at that price point?
Yeah, that's a really good question there, Eric. And unfortunately, it does seem that 60 is almost like the new 40. It used to be that $40 was kind of your call bourbon above the standard Buffalo Traces and the Wild Turkeys. You know, you started to get into a little bit nicer stuff, but it still wasn't breaking the bank. When the way inflation's going and whiskey prices out of control, I feel like that $60 price point is now kind of the new 40. So you're looking at something a little bit nicer. I'm going to have to saunter around my room and see what I'm looking at. But, I do really like if you can get like a store pick of Russell's Reserve. I really like those. Those in our area are about $65 to $70. I think Copper and Cask, they do some single barrels that are really good. I've been picking up that's more around the $50 range. There's also the Senator Straight Rye. That's a really good one. It's MGP 95.5 rye. It's about $60 in our area. Trying to think of any others that are off the top of my head that kind of fit that bill and still kind of available as well. That's part of the problem too, is that all the good ones seem to be getting bought out as you rush the store to get it. But, I also, as I think about the Russells, I really still love Rare Breed, which is obviously a very popular one as well, but that still kind of fits that $60 price range for us. What about you, Eric? What are you picking up on the shelf for $60 yourself?
So right now, Will, my wife and I are actually really enjoying the Penelope cask strength right now. So it's kind of summertime and everything. So we're enjoying that. And we also, at a much lower price point, like the Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond.
Oh, Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond is a hitter for sure. Really like the new stuff they're putting out at Jack Daniel's. I'll tell you one thing. When we started this podcast experiment, Jack Daniel's was the butt of every joke in the whiskey community. You know, it's even our tagline. We don't know Jack, but we'll drink it. They're putting out the 80 proof product and not really trying to meet the enthusiast kind of level. But I'll tell you, they have answered the call and seen that they have quality whiskey. And because they have the volume, they can put out stuff like that Bottled and Bond or even the triple mash for quite an effective price point for the consumer. And I'm really happy they're doing it and they're listening to what the consumers want. So that's a good call. Thank you for reminding me of that, Eric. And thank you for calling in on Whiskey Advice Live. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Will. And we sure do appreciate you and Grease, and we will support you and love the show, guys.
I appreciate it, Eric. And if you want to support us too, you can at patreon.com/thepodcast. Be like Eric. Support us here on this. All right, we've got another call. This is Todd. And if you want to be on air too, you can at 270-612-2275. That's 270-612-2275. Todd, you're on Whiskey Advice Live. How can I help you?
Oh, is it me?
Todd, yes. Is it not Todd?
No, it's Kyle, but it's okay.
Dadgummit, I'm going to have to fire this computer that said my name is Todd O.
Well, everybody always thinks I say Todd, so you're not alone.
All right. Well, what can I do for you, Kyle, Todd?
So what I was calling for is I kind of am starting to get into whiskey a little bit. And one of the bottles I've been trying to find for quite some time is E.H. Taylor. And I've called 3 different states and probably 100 different stores. And I get the same thing every time is give up.
Are you trying to get the small batch or the single? What are you aiming for? Just the regular small batch label?
Any of it.
Yeah.
I can't find any of it anywhere. Yeah. And I was curious, is there anything that is similar to it that is a little more accessible?
Sure. Well, do they have Sazerac products pretty available in your area? Do you know if you see things like Buffalo Trace or Eagle Rare in the area?
Yep. Yeah, I got Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare at my house, actually.
Those are 2 good options, but you know, they Sazerac company just bought Early Times Bottled and Bond, and I would say at that 100 proof level, and now that they're starting to transition to their whiskey, it's gonna be kind of similar to something you'd find in an E.H. Taylor Bottled and Bond, and it's also considerably cheaper, especially because people are not jacking up the prices on that one thus far. But I would also say you can get some good Bottled and Bond products. Like it's a little bit spicier, but I like Old Granddad Bottled and Bond. It's 100 proof, and it's it's about $25 for a fifth of that, and it's pretty good as well. Also in that 100 proof range. So check out maybe that one as well.
Okay.
We also have this is a good a suggestion from a YouTube viewer, Andy, who I believe called earlier, said Four Roses Small Batch Select is great for around $50 to $60. I agree. And it's a little bit higher proof. I think it's 104 proof, but it is a really remarkable whiskey. And actually, I always forget to mention it, but it is one of my favorites out there. So maybe try the Four Roses Small Batch Select as well.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. And appreciate you listening. And I hope we helped you a little bit here on Whiskey Advice Live.
Sure did. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, folks. We're having a good time here tonight on Whiskey Advice Live. And like I said earlier, I showed some videos. We've got more people on, but I'm going to go ahead and take a second here. If you want to call in, go to 270-612-2275 to be on the air. But I'm going to play 2 clips from the Grease on his cruise ship if you missed it earlier. So here's the first one while I take a sip of water and refill my beverage.
What's up, y'all out there? I just wanted to show y'all this. That's a Disney cruise ship. That's where the rich people are. I am not. I'm just above the lifeboats, though. That was strategic because let me go ahead and tell you where I'm not going. I'm not going to my muster station, okay? I'm literally going right there. I'm not going down 3 flights of stairs and a half mile that way. I'm going right there. Can I get an amen? Rich people. Dadgummit.
That was the first message from the Grease. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the second one because this is what tells me he's probably going to end up thrown overboard into that lifeboat.
Hey, babe, you ready to drink some daiquiris and with some rum floaters?
I already have. I'm on my second. Third.
All right. She's on her 3rd daiquiri with a rum floater, and I believe that they had just gotten on the ship. Go ahead and call me at 270-612-CASK if you want to be on Whiskey Advice Live. But it looks like we've got a super chat coming in from Conway on YouTube. Conway, my goodness, with the $100 super chat. You're too kind, my friend. He's a longtime listener and a good friend of the show. We appreciate it, Conway. My good friend Brad from Whiskey Weekend Batch 2 is coming into town this weekend with his family. On the first night, do I pour him something crazy good or something truly crappy? Well, this is a tough question because I know that there is a lot of drinking when friends like Brad come into town. I know there's a certain game called Buffalo that gets played, and I wonder if there's a way you could get him to falsely say Buffalo by pouring him something like Buffalo Trace, or there's that other brand, and let me look it up because I don't know if we had it on the show or not, but Greaves picked it up, and it's Buffalo. I think it's Buffalo Chip. So what you should do is go get a bottle of Buffalo Chip whiskey, bourbon, and it is something I think what you can do is you can kind of trick him and pour it for him, see what he thinks, and then be like, wait, what's that whiskey called again? He'll be like, Buffalo Chip. And you'll be like, I was drinking out of the right hand. You cannot call Buffalo on me, and he has to finish his drink then. So it's kind of a way to get an upper hand on the weekend. But also I know Brad is a good buddy, and so pouring something memorable with him is always a good time. But regardless, I know that you'll make memories with him because you're a great man and a great friend. Thank you for the super chat, Conway. Really appreciate it, and hope I could help you here on Whiskey Advice Live. Hey, folks, if you want to be on Whiskey Advice Live, got about 10 minutes left in the program tonight, so go ahead and get your calls in at our phone number, direct 270-612-2275. That's 270-612-2275. I look forward to speaking with you on air. But let's see, we've got a lot of people responding to Conway's question. And he said, let's see, we've got Cody Breeding says, how long is he in town? Close with the good stuff. And then let's see, we've got Adam Shelton that says, go with the good stuff. So quite a few. Andy Payne says, crazy good. And let's see, Derek, our buddy Derek out in Texas as well, says, which I believe Derek is out of Austin. And Conway's out of Dallas, but 2 fine Texas gentlemen. Pour him something good, get him drunk, and then tell him it was something great. That's always the penny pinching Derek Ellis, trying to find a way to have a good time, but not necessarily break out all the good stuff. So, folks, Like I said, our time is coming close to an end, but I can take a few more phone calls at 270-612-2275. If you want to go ahead and call right now, we'll get you through before we end our evening. But hey, if you want to support the podcast, you can at patreon.com/thepodcast. Sign up for any level, and it helps support this show that we bring to you almost each and every week. I have a little bit of house cleaning next week. I'll be on vacation. It's also July 4th. I don't know that Grease will be live on July 4th, but knowing him, he probably will be. So we'll see what happens, but I will not be with him. I will be with my family, not on a cruise ship, but nevertheless, I will not be available for the show. So we'll see what he gets into, what kind of unfortunate bottle giveaways he tries to pull off and things of that nature, but you probably don't want to miss it because he always has a good time when I'm not there to rein him in. Check us out next week, but you can go ahead and make sure you don't miss it by subscribing to the YouTube channel, ringing the bell, and also a free way to support us tonight is to go ahead and give us a thumbs up. It helps this video get featured for people in perpetuity that want to see the internet's only whiskey advice live call-in broadcast on YouTube that I know of. It's quite a title, but it's something we're proud of over here at the podcast. You can go ahead and call me right now at 270-612-2275 if you'd like to be on air, as we have a few moments left. I could always do a buy bar pass rating, but to tell you the truth, I don't know if there's anything within reach that I could do a buy bar pass rating on, because I've been drinking Oak and Thieves Cigarette Blend Nulu straight bourbon whiskey. It's delicious. It's refreshing. It tastes well above its age statement. It's got oak and earth. It's got tobacco. It's got vanilla. All the things you want from a fine quality straight bourbon whiskey out of Kentucky. Folks, you're not going to want to sleep on this one, because once it's gone, it's gone. It'll never be had again. It reminds me in many ways of one of my favorite single barrels I've ever had. And that was a delightful 10-year age stated, but 11 years in actuality, single barrel Bell Mead pick from Carruthers Wine and Spirits. You know the old Carruthers. We used to talk about it all the time. It's where we formed our relationship and friendship with Justin, the Justin of Carruthers. You know him. He's a good man. He picked really good whiskey for Carruthers in the day, and that bottle I will never forget. And when we were tasting this barrel of cigarette blend, as we lovingly call it now, we were at Nulu. We'd gone through 4 barrels at least, and we said, nay, none of these meet the standards of Oak and Thieves. So they had to keep pulling more samples and more samples until we found a few that we were starting to go for. But when I tasted this one, when the fresh crack of that bung was then thieved into my Glencairn glass on that March day in Louisville, Kentucky, I knew something was different about that wonderful whiskey coming out of that thief. I could smell it already on the nose. And then as soon as it hit my lips, I'm like, this tastes like that 11-year-old single barrel of Bell Mead that I'm so fond of from Carruthers back in the day. However, that bottle is long gone. It has moved on to the angel share only. And the only memories I have of it are when I pull out this bottle, the cigarette blend, Nulu straight bourbon whiskey, and I think about those wonderful times I had with that bottle, because this one tastes like its twin brother. And I think that's a weird way to say that, but I'm quite fond of it. You can still get it. There's still bottles available. Join us at oakandthieves.com and pick one up today. I think you'll really, really enjoy what it got. All right, we got a few more minutes left, folks. If you want to be on the air and round out the night, I can take a couple more calls. If we go to 270-612-2275, that's 270-612-2275, I would be glad to take your call and give you some of the best whiskey advice on a Whiskey Advice Call-In live talk show on YouTube, because we're the only ones that I know of. But you can check us out there. You can go to thepodcast.com. You can join us in our Facebook group. The Podcasters. You can go to thepodcasters.com. It takes you right there. Join, say you heard about it on Whiskey Advice Live. It'll be a lot of fun. We have some good conversation and great times, and you meet a lot of new people. But that's a great way to meet people is on Facebook. You know, you share memes and you rag on each other about their choice of whiskey. We don't do a lot of crotch shots in that group, which is good because you can find that elsewhere. But I'll go ahead and tell you, it's a lot of fun. Join us there. All right, what else we got? We got anything else going on in our comments section? Not that I see. All right, folks, I think unless another call here comes in the next segment here, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the evening. I appreciate you giving me your time tonight on Whiskey Advice Live. Go ahead and comment below if you like this. If you like this format every once in a while, it's a little bit bitty, it's a little campy, it's a little weird, but we'll do it again if we need to. See how maybe Whiskey Advice Live goes when Grease is involved. Maybe we could do it again sometime, but we'll have to save that for another day. But looks like we've got one call being screened right now, so that'll be our wrap up. As soon as it gets through, I'll let them go ahead and tell my automated assistant what they want to talk about, and then I'll get right to them, and then we'll wrap up the show. How's that for a Monday evening, folks? I hope that if you have any questions, you think about calling me in the future, because I'm just here to help you out. I've got no agenda, no problems that are too big that I cannot solve for you. But I will say this. I do appreciate you for calling in and telling me all your problems tonight, because it just makes me feel so much better about myself. All right, we've got a caller here. I don't have a name, but I'm going to go ahead and put you on the air anyways. You're on the air. I believe you're from Georgia. Who am I talking to tonight?
Hey, well, this is Danny of Danny's Candies.
Hello, Danny. Welcome.
Hey, being in Georgia, we don't have an opportunity to get up to the distilleries to get a lot of these, distillery only releases. What, and I don't have a whole lot of contacts in Kentucky, unfortunately, but what kind of advice would you have for someone that lives outside the state to be able to get some of these distillery only releases?
That is a really, really good question. And you know what's unfortunate is I live in Tennessee and I don't get many of the distillery only releases either, because it seems like people camp out pretty early in advance to get those. But every once in a while, I'll find a friend that'll share a bottle with me, a little pour from it, a little sip, so we can create some memories together. I would say probably the best thing is to join a group like Podcasters on Facebook. And when you see people posting about it, offer up a sample trade, and you may not get a full bottle, but you'll get to taste something that is unique to distillery only releases, and you may not be able to get it in your area. And there's a way that you can build friendships and get to know people better. And it may grow into something where, like, hey, I got two. Would you like one? So that's probably my best advice. If you're out of state, it's not easy to get those distillery release only bottles many times. I don't get many of them myself, but I do know people that are generous in our community and would love to share with folks when people are interested. So I'd say that's probably my best way. Did that help at all?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, that does help. I'm a member of a few Facebook groups here in the Atlanta area. I live in north of Atlanta. And there are some connections that we kind of be able to, share some bottles and get some opportunities in that fashion. But I really enjoy y'all's show. I know I'd be curious to hear sometime how you and Grease actually got hooked up together. Yeah. Y'all seem like the two sides of one coin, but totally opposite. But I appreciate the banter and the good times y'all have. So.
Well, I appreciate it.
And
yeah, thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone giving me an hour of your time tonight, and for always supporting us here at the podcast and everything we do. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the old hotline right now. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate everyone for their time this evening. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, both the podcast feed and the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. It's free to do, and it helps others find this as well. If you're watching this on replay, the hotline is now closed down, so you'll have to wait for another day. But I do appreciate all the callers that joined me this evening and had questions, pouring out their heart to me on a Monday evening about all their whiskey woes. Until next time, I'm Will from the podcast, and this was Whiskey Advice Live. We don't know Jack over here.